So there's been a lot of discussion about the future of young people in the political sphere at the moment, which I've made my position on this pretty clear given the history of how people have treated young people in politics of recent years. Now, in relation to this, Marina Purkis tweeted out this picture of a Reform UK meeting with Anne Widdecombe there, and the audience at this particular meeting, the membership of Reform UK, being lots of old people. Now, older people do tend to vote more often. And she made the point, young people, if you don't take an interest and vote for your future, this lot will. And that is true. Young people should absolutely vote. And she's not wrong to say that young people should be more likely to vote. The issue is why aren't young people going to vote? What's going to be issues that bring young people out to vote? And why are young people feeling disenfranchised? And one of my genuinely a friend of the show, the Gordon Jackson 5 on Twitter, quote tweeted her post about this and made the correct point, which is that from all between 2015 to 2019, which is when young people were super engaged in politics, the 2017 election, one of the biggest upsurges in youth voting we've seen in decades because of their belief in what was being promised by Corbyn's Labour Party. The actual centrists told the young people that they shouldn't get involved, that they're naive, it's student politics, these people are just Trotskyist entryists, they're just people being bribed by Labour over student fees, it's the politics of protest, whatever it might be, all these different things that they said, all these epithets they used for young people voting, when there was actually a political party driven by young people that caused young people to be supportive of them, that focused on the issues that actual young people needed addressed, that now all of our political class are telling us are really important, but completely hand-waved away during the 2017 and 2019 elections. This feels a little bit rich. Now, I actually quite like Marina Purkis, and I think that she's really good on policy. And in general, she has changed her position. Like, she previously wasn't a supporter of Corbyn and voted for the Liberal Democrats over Brexit, but she now admits that that was a mistake. And she now thinks that Corbyn's policies were good and that she wishes that she had done it, which is a level of contrition that this kind of activist, like Marina Purkis, you don't usually get this kind of contrition. And I'm always willing for people to have their minds changed and to come over to our side of the discussion. I'm not going to hold it against them like many other people have in the replies to her original tweet over this one. Now, in comes the subject of this video and an ironic friend of the show, Femi. So Femi then responded to this one, trying to make everything about Brexit because Brexit is the only issue. Politics started in 2016. And so his position on this, that's a hell of a take. Centrism is definitely pushing young people away from Starmer because he's been parroting the Tories for years. Fine criticism, but let's not rewrite history. So what I took from this is that what the actual betrayal of young people was is Jeremy Corbyn not being sufficiently anti-Brexit enough. So here is polling correctly showing that young people are very pro-Remain and very pro-rejoin for the European Union, and that Jeremy Corbyn was not Remain enough for them because he didn't want to stay in the EU single market post-Brexit. Now, it was in the manifesto in 2017, but after the 2017 election, the position changed as far as Corbyn was concerned because there was a lot of discussion around single market access going on at the time. Now, my response to this, which is the reasonable position, is that, sure, right, you can say that there is a difference between Corbyn's position on Brexit because, as has been pointed out in many replies to this, in all of our discussion before this, Corbyn's history as a Bennite, as a member of the left wing of the Labour Party, has always been one of Euroscepticism, and I don't shy away from that. I even say it in my tweet. You can point to having diverging opinions on young people with Brexit actually never affected their voting preferences. You can't really say Corbyn completely undermined the views of young people when, despite his disagreements with them on the single issue of Brexit, or on the broader spectrum of policies that actually are more important to us, like council housing, like nationalisation, like taxing the rich, like wealth redistribution, and the creation of the kind of social democratic economy that was pitched to us in 2017, Brexit wasn't a dividing line that made people turn away from Jeremy Corbyn. They may have had differences on this issue, even though he campaigned in 2019 on a second referendum and in 2017 on a soft Brexit option, which is the point I make in my tweet here, because their 2017 position was around customs unions access. There was even bits about single market, but I believe that it was up in the weeds anyway, but they wanted more alignment with the EU. They wanted to maybe end freedom of movement, but still have certain benefits for EU nationals coming to the European Union, maintaining Erasmus, not having a Brexit bonfire of workers legislation, more closer relationship than you'd get from a hard Brexit, and the customs union would have been there so that we could maintain the sanctity of the Good Friday Agreement. Right? This was the compromise position in 2017, where you respect the result of the referendum, but you try and mitigate the damage and create some kind of compromise agreement, given how close the referendum was and the split points of view within the Labour Party over Leave and Remain. It was a very thorny issue, and there was a compromise there, and it worked. In 2017, we didn't discuss Brexit. They went to the polls, we talked about the economy, we talked about social justice, and people came together and Labour got 40% of the vote, increasing 15% over the course of the election period. The Femi's response to this is to bring up a interview that Jeremy Corbyn had on Andrew Marr's show, when he talks just about the single market specifically, which literally in my tweet, I said that in the replies to my tweet myself, I say they disagreed on the single market, but there was a customs union there at least, which was a softening impacts on Brexit. So Femi's response to bring this interview where he says that they want to leave the European single market and freedom of movement isn't on the table, as that's kind of an interconnected part of the EU, which is a debatable thing, but I'm not going to hold it against him because of my broad agreement with a bunch of other positions that he takes, or the broader aspects of the positions that he adheres to. Explicitly saying he wants us to leave the single market and do a simple tariff-free deal instead, which is what we have now. That's what Boris Johnson gave us. He explicitly said he wanted to defy the wishes of the left in the UK for political gain. Stop trying to rewrite history. Well, no, the political left was mostly made up of Lexiteers. That's why you have the Eddie Dempseys and the Mick Lynches of this world, who are the political left, who are Eurosceptics, because let's be real, the EU is a neoliberal trade bloc. That's what it is. It may have good competition law in terms of monopoly legislation. It may be good on workers' rights. It may have some benefits in terms of trade. But broadly speaking, if you want to create a socialist economy in your country, the EU are going to be a real stumbling block to be able to do that from capitalism to socialism. We already have a pretty social democratic model like in Sweden or in Denmark. They're not going to make you roll that back, but plenty of other regulations within the EU make it harder for you to do that. So the left have broadly in this country been against membership of the European Union. They were under Wilson, remember. But of course, you know, left-wing voices have changed. There's a liberal left as well who are very, very pro-EU. And I buy a lot of their arguments, even though I'm more of a left-winger myself. But there was clearly a split, especially amongst the Labour membership, who did vote for a closer relationship with the European Union. And again, that's why there was a compromise position. Views were different within the party. There was a literal referendum where Leave won that we needed to respect. And quite frankly, I don't think there should have been a second referendum policy, for not just for electoral reasons, but on the democratic reasons, right? Sure, the party democracy may have wanted it, but that would have overridden the entire democracy of the country, not just in terms of things that they support that you can convince them of, but what the actual will of the people was in terms of what happened in 2016 on the day of the referendum. That's why I kind of differ, but I can understand people having different opinions on this. So let's watch this clip.
When you're asked, would you like to see us leave the single market, you can't tell us.
The single market is dependent on membership of the EU. What we've said all along is that we want a tariff-free trade access to the European market and a partnership with Europe in the future.
But to be absolutely crystal clear, we leave the single European market because we leave the EU.
The two things are inextricably
so we have to leave
linked.
the single market.
Yes.
Okay,
and
that's
so
clear.
the question is then the kind of trade relationship in the future, and we've made it very clear we want a tariff-free trade access with the European market.
Your members want...
So that's the first half, where it's about specifically the single market access. And I've already said in my tweet originally, and one of the replies to my tweet, the single market wasn't stable, but the customs union was. So this is now not even about soft Brexit or young people anymore. My original point that I made is just about, well, Jeremy Corbyn's bad because of the single market specifically. Now, I do think that when it comes to the reasons people had for leaving, the single market is one of the bigger motivating factors, because that's where freedom of movement comes from. And people generally had an anti-immigration view, but there were different reasons as well. But a lot of the single market access is why socialists wouldn't want to be members of the European Union. Broader policy prescriptions that were shared by all Leave voters were usually around the terms of the economic markets around the European Union, because it's either immigration-based, or it's monopolisation-based, or it's competition law-based, loads of different issues, but they're all basically single market related.
To be inside the single market, and they want to be inside the customs union, and they want a second referendum. Now, you always say that you listen to your members. Why do you not listen to them about these things?
I listen to members all the time. There are numbers of opinion polls been done. I'm not familiar with all of the questions that have been put to them. Yes, the membership of the Labour Party overwhelmingly voted to remain. Overwhelmingly,
Yeah, but they lost the referendum.
Labour supporters voted to remain, but a third of them didn't. A third of them voted the other way. I want to win the next election.
We voted to leave. The country voted to leave, right? The member base may have supported Remain, but Remain literally lost the referendum. That's how referenda are supposed to work. Like, you lose and then you accept the result. And so what he was supposed to do from the membership was support undermining the democracy of this country. But anyway, right, regardless of all of that, his point in response to me saying, well, the single market wasn't on the table, but there was a customs union, and that wasn't an issue for young people because of the economics of it, that's not relevant what he's just said there. So I made this point. You've not responded to any of the points that I made. Where is the exodus of the youth voters specifically over Brexit? You said he offered soft Brexit. I just proved he campaigned for hard Brexit. Now, if you have a customs union, you stay in the customs union, you have all of these different attempts to be closer with the EU, like was being campaigned on in the 2017 manifesto, I would call that soft Brexit. For me, personally, depends on your position. Femi calls this hard Brexit, I would call it soft Brexit. You can go and read the 2017 manifesto if you want a clearer view on what this is, but there are lots of things which are going to be closer aligned post-Brexit than they would be now, and we'd have customs union access. So where's the hard Brexit? I don't know where he's getting this from. So he's saying, well, he's lying in that interview. Now, I meant, well, if it's before the manifesto was released, then he would have listened to supporters and then changed his position to create the manifesto that had a bunch of closer relationships in it, which they kept anyway, whilst also campaigning for a customs union even between the elections and then campaigning on a second referendum in the 2019 election. He then said it was after the election. So it was even relevant in terms of the positions that he stood on in terms of electoral politics, because it's completely different from the 2019 election, which was a second referendum. And it was after 2017, which is the point I was making. So he's literally not responded to anything that I've said, tried to pretend that the only definition of hard Brexit can be whether you have single market access or not. And now he's saying, not so only can he not be trusted, he was on record as supporting the same kind of Brexit that Boris Johnson gave us. Literally not true, unless your only metric for judging the Boris Johnson Brexit deal is single market access and nothing else. Customs Union, Erasmus, closer relationships, workers' rights, the Good Friday Agreement, none of that matters. It's just the single market that matters. And that's his sticking point for trying to say that Jeremy Corbyn betrayed young people, that he's absolutely ruined families in this country because of the poverty crisis that he exacerbated by leaving the single market. Honestly, this is complete nonsense. It just shows that, like, Remainiacs like Femi just need to get an absolute grip. They need to get a grip. Was Corbyn perfect? No. Do I agree with him on everything? Absolutely not. But their absolute level of derangement over Remain and Leave and Brexit being the only salient political issue, so much so they have to make up reasons why to hate Jeremy Corbyn because they didn't feel he was, like, sufficiently Remain enough. Just it absolutely defies all known sense. I even just said this in my specific thread here. I think you need to seek medical advice for your Corbyn derangement syndrome, because that's it. I'm not willing to engage further discussion with somebody who is this bad faith, who is this fundamentally bad faith that he's not even taking the original positions I made, strawmanning me, and then completely changing the subject of the discussion to just being about the single market. It's nonsense, right? Why should I take this man serious? I've been nice to this guy previously on this channel. I may have called him an idiot a couple of times, but I genuinely thought his heart was in the right place. But Brexit has completely broken this man's brain. No wonder he drove to Hull at 4 a.m. to try and stop Brexit, if this is the kind of mindset they'd send him into. I think it was bad, right? On grounds of it, I think Remain probably was a better option, but he's just completely lost in the sauce and completely in the weeds. And the fact that he comes to me and says that us people are beyond help when this is the way that he acts, you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. Hey ho, but that is the beef that I got into with Femi about young people and Jeremy Corbyn, because really and truly, the issues that young people really did care about, the things that were being mentioned in the original tweet that was posted by my friend on Twitter, was the issues about us being completely not taken seriously in our core issues in 2017, 2019, and all of the Corbyn leadership period. Because we are not supposed to be taken seriously as a political demographic. We don't vote, it's true, and we should vote. Maybe if people courted our votes, we would, and that's exactly what happened in 2017. Hard Brexit, soft Brexit, no Brexit, or anything of the sort. Because the clear issue was social justice and economic justice. But there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. And Femi, if you want to come on debate this anytime, you're more than welcome. The door is open. You can have a moderator if you want. You can bring on your own moderator of your choice. I genuinely don't mind. And I will be nice and civil. I won't insult you. We can have a discussion on the evidence. But I don't think you will, because you're clearly got into your head that I'm beyond help and I'm some kind of lunatic Brexiteer when I'm literally not. But whatever. If he wants to take the option, it's open. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.